hell, judgment, and eternity. Part 16. Resurrection means death and the grave are not permanent. Chapter 1. When our bodies die, we all face the grave. But it is not permanent because of Jesus, who is the way we can be resurrected into new life. So because the grave no longer has power over mankind, then what happens to the godly when they die? And what happens to ungodly people? Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, showing that death had no permanent power. He himself was the resurrection. Jesus was talking to Martha just after her brother Lazarus had died. There is a detailed account of all that happened in John chapter 11, verses 1 to 53.
John 11. Lazarus resurrected. Jesus said to Martha, "Your brother will rise again." Martha said to him, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live even if he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord. I have believed that you are the Christ, the Son of God." Even he who comes into the world
Martha believed in the traditional thought that there would be a last day resurrection. Jesus was trying to show her that the end of death had come. And that life was present with them. She may have only partially understood what he meant.
He cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth!" The man who had died came forth.
The religious leaders didn't believe, even though Lazarus was resurrected.
Therefore many of the Jews from Jerusalem came to Mary at Bethany, and saw what he had done, and believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them the things which Jesus had done. Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation. From that day on, they planned together to kill him.
Chapter 2. Hell and death are described in the Bible as not permanent. And death is not able to prevent people from coming to God and hearing Him. Because it is ultimately abolished. People who have been kept in Hades come out. It is not a permanent hell, but ends up destroyed.
Revelation 20. And I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged from the things which were written in the books, according to their deeds. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every one of them, according to their deeds.
All those waiting in the grave come out. This could be showing that many who have not been godly have been kept in a waiting place. And the nature of this waiting place may well have changed after the resurrection of Jesus. Is this period of waiting different for everyone? Is it outside our human concept of time? Whatever it is, we know that the judgment they then face is God's just and impartial evaluation of how they have lived, as in Romans chapter 2.
Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire.
All will be made alive, and death will be abolished.
Revelation 21. There will no longer be any death. First Corinthians 15. For as in Adam all die, so also in Christ all will be made alive. But each in his own order. The last enemy that will be abolished is death.
Death is swallowed up. Death, where is your victory? Hell, where is your sting?
First Corinthians 15. We will all be changed. The dead will be raised imperishable. Death is swallowed up in victory. Death, where is your victory? Grave, where is your sting?
Death, where is your sting? This is quoted from Hosea 13 and is speaking prophetically of Jesus overcoming death. When he died on the tree and rose again.
Hosea 13. Hell, I am your distraction.
Chapter 3. This is the story, or parable, of Lazarus and a rich man. A favourite of the hellfire preachers. Both main characters clearly represent people from God's kingdom. And in fact, it's most likely that both were in Hades. It was describing Lazarus in a different part of the same place. So it isn't about good people to heaven, bad people to hell. In fact, for those who see it, it needn't represent two different people at all. The story is briefly mentioned here, but much more detail is given in the presentation on rewards in this life and in ages to come. Since it is primarily about rewards in this life and the next. What we do in this life affects what happens when we go to the grave.
Luke 16, a brief summary. There was a rich man living in splendor, and a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores. The poor man died, and the rich man also. In Hades, the rich man was in torment, and he saw Abraham far away, and Lazarus by his side. He cried out, "Abraham, have mercy on me, for I am in agony." But Abraham said, "During your life you received your good things, and Lazarus bad things." Then he begged him to send Lazarus to warn his brothers. Abraham said, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be persuaded, even if someone rises from the dead."
The Lazarus that Jesus was referring to in this parable or story may well be the same Lazarus who was the brother of Mary and Martha. And the Lazarus who was Jesus' friend. He raised him back to life after he had been dead for 4 days. See John 11. In this story of Lazarus and the rich man, he makes a clear suggestion that he could raise Lazarus from the dead, but that they still wouldn't believe. Then the story ends suddenly, unfinished. But it is very likely that the raising of Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, was the rest of the story. So what happened to that rich man? his sinfulness was not too much for God's love or power.
Matthew 19. It is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. But with God, all things are possible. Hebrews 2. God left nothing or no one that is not subject to Christ.
Now the rich man was repentant and compassionate for others.
Luke 16. The rich man said, Then I beg you, Father, that you send him to my father's house.
It's the redemption of the soul of all peoples, both rich and poor, that is precious to God.
Psalms 49. Hear this, all peoples, give ear, all inhabitants of the world. Both low and high, rich and poor together. The redemption of the soul is precious.
So when a person dies, all the pomp and recognition and foolishness is separated. And assigned to the fires.
The stupid and the senseless alike perish, and leave their wealth to others. Man in his pomp does not endure. The way of those who are foolish is that they are appointed for Sheol. Their form is for Sheol to consume. But God redeems my soul from the power of Sheol. Do not be afraid when a man becomes rich. For when he dies, he carries nothing away. His glory does not descend after him. Though while he lives, he congratulates himself, and though men praise you when you do well for yourself, they never see the light. Man in his pomp, who is without understanding, as if in a proverb, he can be compared with beasts that are destroyed.
So what happened to this rich man? Since Hades is not permanent, he was not to remain in that troubling state. What is known for sure is that he lost his wealth and lost his pomp and praise from men. And because we know from Hebrews chapter 2 that God left no one who was not subject to Christ, then this man became subject to him. This was Hell, Judgment and Eternity, Part 16.